Okay, so in this video I'm going to have a look at unknown coefficients. So a coefficient is just simply a number that's in front of the variable. So for example, if you've got something like 3x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0, the coefficient of the x squared here is 3, the coefficient of the x is plus 5. So these are just called coefficients. So we're going to have a look at I'm going to have a look at two examples. I'm going to have a look at this example here, 10 times ax plus b, and I'm going to say that that's equal to 50x plus 30. And what I want to do here is try and find out what a would be. If this side here is equal to this side here, what would a be? So what you do here really is just multiply out the brackets on the left hand side here, and you get 10ax plus 10b is equal to 50x plus 30. So when you multiply out the left hand side, you can see here you've got a number here, 10a, and that's multiplied by x, and then you have 10b here as well with no x. So here you've got a number in front of the x here, or a coefficient of x, and you've got a number here with no x. So the left hand side and the right hand side look the same, in other words. So you can say here that the 10a is going to be equal to the 50, and the 10b here is equal to 30. So in other words, we can say here that a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 3. b here is going to be equal to 3. So we've worked out what a and b here are, these unknowns on the left hand side, a and b, by just simply what we're doing here is equating coefficients. We're looking at the coefficients of the x and also the constants here. The number here without the x here is 30, and the number on the left hand side here without the x is 10b, so they must be equal as well. So that's a fairly simple example. Let's look at a more detailed example. Let's say we take something like this. Let's take a p times x plus 2, and we're going to multiply that by x plus 1. So we're going to have to work out what p is here anyway. Here we've got a q, and we're going to multiply that by x minus 3. And we're going to multiply that by x minus 1. So we're going to also have to find out what this q is. And then on the right hand side, we're going to have 5x squared plus x plus 12. Now you can see on the right hand side here we've got a simple quadratic trinomial. We've got a 5x squared plus 1x plus 12. On the left hand side we've got something that looks a lot more complicated, but what we're going to have to do here really is multiply everything out here on the left hand side and make it look like this, or some version of this here, and then we can equate what's in front of the x squareds, what's in front of the x, and what we have on the left hand side here that has no x attached to it. So let's just multiply all of this out on the left hand side here first. So what I'm going to do here is leave that p alone, and I'm just going to multiply these two bits out here. If I multiply these two out here, I get x squared plus 2x plus 1x, that's going to be plus 3x, and then the 2 times 1 plus 2 times plus 1 gives me plus 2 here. Here I'm not going to do anything with the q yet, I'm just going to multiply out these two brackets here. So I'll end up with x times x, which is x squared. I'll have a minus 3x minus 1x, that gives me minus 4x. And then I'll have a minus 3 times minus 1, that will give me plus 3 here. Okay, on the right hand side I've still got, if I'm not doing anything with that, 5x squared plus x plus 12. Okay, now I'm going to multiply out the p's and q's here. So I'll end up with p times x squared, which is px squared, plus 3px plus 2p minus qx squared, plus, remember it's minus times minus is plus, 4qx, and then I have minus times plus here, which is minus 3q. And again, that's still equal to 5x squared plus x plus 12. Okay, so now on the left hand side here, I've gotten rid of all the brackets here. I've multiplied everything out that I possibly can. Now look at the right hand side here. I have an x squared with a number in front of it. Now here on the left hand side, I've got an x squared here and I've got an x squared here. So I'm going to put these two together. So I'll just write them together first and then we look at what to do with them later on. So I've got a px squared and I've got a minus qx squared. Now also on the right hand side here I've got this x. So here I've got an x and here I've got an x. So I'm going to put those two together. So here I've got plus 3px and then I've got a plus 4qx. So that's these two together. Now I've also got here, I've got a number here and I have no x attached to this. So is there anything over here that I've got no x attached to? Well, there's this one here and this one here. So I'm going to put those two together. So I've got a plus 2p and a minus 3q. And again, that's equal to 5x squared plus x plus 12. Now on the left hand side here, I have an x squared and an x squared here. I can factorize these two here. In other words, I can just take the x outside the bracket. So I get p minus q here. And then I've got an x squared here. So in other words, p times x squared will give me px squared minus q times x squared minus qx squared. So this is just the same as this here. I can do the same here with these two x's. I can just take the x outside the bracket. So I'm left with 3p plus 4q. And then I'm left with x here. And over here I'm left with plus 2p minus 3q. And on the right hand side then I've got my 5x squared plus the x plus the 12 as well. Now if you look at the left and right hand sides, I have on the left hand side I've got some number here times x squared. Here I've got some number here times x squared. So in other words, I can now say that p minus q must be equal to that 5. Also, I have something here times x, and I've got something here times the x as well. So that will just, here I've actually got 1 times x. So what I can write down now here also is 3p plus 4q is equal to 1. Also here I've got a plus 2p minus 3q. So I have this here and I have this here. They're going to be equal as well. So I have 2p minus 3q, and that's going to be equal to 12. 2p minus 3q is equal to 12. So in actual fact, I have two unknowns here, p and q, p and q, p and q, that I have to try and work out. And I actually have 3 equations here to choose from. Now really I only need 2. So I'll just identify these as equation 1, equation 2, and equation 3. I'm only going to use 2 of them. So I think I'll use the simplest one here, p minus q. I'm going to use p minus q is equal to 5. And I'll use, it doesn't really matter, I think I'll use the second one here, 3p plus 4q is equal to 1. I'll use that one as well. So I'm using equations 1 and 2. Now again, I've done simultaneous equations in a previous video, so I won't go through the exact process again, but if you look here, I've got a a minus q here and a plus 4q here. So I'm going to change this. I already have different signs here, so I'm going to change this to a 4. So in order to do that, I need to take equation 1 and multiply it by 4. So let's look at doing that. So if I multiply equation 1 by 4, I get 4p minus 4q is equal to 4 5s 20. Equation 2 then is just simply 3p plus 4q is equal to 1. That's equation 2. I've done nothing with that. I'm just going to put a line under these two here, these two equations, and I'm just going to add them. So 4p plus 3p is going to give me 7p. I've got minus 4q plus 4q, that's just going to give me 0, and here I'm going to end up with 21. So you can see here I've ended up with 7p is equal to 21. that will give me, divide by 7 on both sides, and I get P is equal to 3. Okay, so let's continue on then. I just need to work out what Q is then. So I'm going to take the simple equation here, the simplest one anyway. So that's P minus Q is equal to 5. This is equation 1. And I know that P is 3 here, so I'm just going to put in 3 here for P. Got Q there, and I got 5 here. Okay, so now I just want to work out what Q is, so I subtract 3 from this side, and that will leave me with minus Q. Subtract 3 from the right hand side, and I end up with minus Q is equal to 2. So that will just give me plus Q is equal to minus 2. Just multiply across by minus 1, and I get plus Q. And 2 times minus 1 then will give me minus 2. So I end up with my answer here. My answer here will be P is equal to 3 and Q is equal to minus 2.